We're very happy to be back in the driver's seat and very happy to be bringing you this episode finally. We just aired Blazy Gardner's TWD Universe Secret Santa special last night. That would be on Blazy Gardner's channel. That's youtube.com/BlazyGardner. Head over there now. It is about an hour long, a little over. And it features TWD family, obviously, gifting their presents to Secret Santa recipients, or TWU characters. They're not real presents. Some of them are out of the box. Some of them are photoshopped. Some of them are actually real. I was in this video. So is Cosmom09, who's in the chat right now, our hostess with the mostest. And of course, Blazy Gardner, our other host, set all this up. Please check it out. It'll be in the blog for this video specifically, eventually. So, but don't wait. Head over to Blazy Gardner's channel right now and queue it up. Do what you need to do. Put it in a separate tab for now, but not yet. Don't play it yet. You're gonna watch this video. We're bringing to you obviously the mid-season finale of season 7 for Fear the Walking Dead, and it is just in your face. And that's why we couldn't cover it immediately. No, just kidding. We needed to take a week off. After 10 weeks of doing crazy, hellish routines of trying to cover 2 episodes a week, we needed a week off. And especially since the episode was such a, so in your face. Yeah, it was just one of those, just between the series finale for The Walking Dead World Beyond and this episode, we just needed to kind of gather our troops and stuff like that. So, here it is. Not much housekeeping. The only thing that we wanted to mention was that we will not be discussing Madison Clark's return in this episode. For that, we will be scheduling a live stream with you guys so that we can all talk together, air out our grievances, our congratulations, our mixed feelings, anything you may have in the realm of opinions. Because that's what we do. We talk about it. We hash things out. We do some introspection. So I hope you guys can make it. We haven't announced it quite yet, but we will in the coming days. So please enable notifications, social media notifications, so you know when we post the details. But more than anything else, you will want to follow us at ko-fi.com/squawkingdead, because that's when you know when we'll actually record episodes, do cool things like Jackbox games. We're going to be doing so much more on the platform. We do not post those details on social media, so you will not hear about it if you are not following us on ko-fi.com/squawkingdead. Secondly, we will not be talking about the stinger, the post-credit scene in The Walking Dead World Beyond when we air that episode. I'll speak more about that tomorrow, but we will also be doing a live stream on that specific scene because that deserves a little bit more examination, a little bit more of input from you, the fans and followers. And on what you guys think, because I've heard so many wild theories thus far already. But giving this a little bit more hang time for everybody to gather their thoughts, I figured that would be a good idea. So we'll be scheduling a live stream for that as well. This week's schedule has been posted on social media, so please check it out. We'll be premiering an episode every single night, including last night, which was the Blazy Gardner's TWD Secret Santa. Tonight, obviously, is the mid-season finale for Fear the Walking Dead. Tomorrow night will be The Walking Dead World Beyond's series finale. And Thursday night, the day before Christmas Eve, will be our interview with Bailey Gavlik, which we're so happy to bring you. And I will say, we recorded that 3 months ago. I'm kind of glad that she hasn't shown up on the show because I'd feel very embarrassed. But this is the schedule that we've been dealt. And I tried around Thanksgiving to actually release it, but then so many things came up that wasn't going to be possible. So I'm happy to bring it to you this week. I'm so excited to show you this interview. It's literally, I know we've had interviews with Jenna Elfman, with Mo Collins, with Peggy Schott, Alexa Nisenson this year, but by far, our interview with Bailey Gavlik, who plays Annie on Fear the Walking Dead, was the most funny, in my opinion. I know the girls snorted, laughed on the Mo Collins interview, and they're all one-of-a-kind interviews, and I love them all. But Bailey had me in stitches. You won't even hear it because most of the time I'm muted. But I never laughed so hard at an interview just because I didn't expect her to be so, just her timing was just so perfect. And Mo, like as funny as she is, she's a very earnest person, and I love that about her. And so sometimes it's like you can't like. Annie was just snappier. It's just she's had it in the pocket for some reason. She was on fire. I don't know. I can't wait to show this to you. And if you don't want to wait, you can always head to ko-fi.com/squawkingdead and stream the unedited version of that interview. That's been available for 3 months for you to watch and enjoy. But the edited version should be great. The only other thing that I've got left, I know I've been talking for a little while. If you haven't noticed, we introduced a new stream element. It's the goal. See, on ko-fi.com/squawkingdead, we do have a goal. And the main goal for as long as we've had it, for the last 2 years plus, is the ability to basically self-sustain. For now, I fund this podcast, and you can see how much the yearly costs are on the bottom right. Those are yearly costs that we can quantify as a podcast. There are other costs as well, like buying our own merch, giveaways, travel expenses, booth expenses, things like that can't be possibly placed in a goal. It's not a quantifiable goal in terms of like a yearly recurring expense. So, but these are the expenses here are recurring. These are hosting costs. These are the costs of automation that we use. Various things like podcast hosting and advertising tools, advertising in general, all that's put in the goal. And we want to see if that's self-sustaining. And then as soon as we feel like we can achieve that goal, we'll change it to something more tangible, like buying a new camera or buying Charity a new house because it's noisy. I'm just kidding. Anyways, so yeah, that's what it is now, and that's what it'll always be. But yeah, and if you are so inclined to, and you have been enjoying this episode, please tip us during this stream, and your support will appear on this video forever, and we will love you forever, believe it or not. Without further ado, here's the mid-season finale coverage, our discussion on Fear the Walking Dead's 8th episode of season 7, titled Padre. Enjoy.
Somebody else now.
We are Squawking Dead, a podcast pulverizing episodes of the Walking Dead universe. Sometimes we give you news, sometimes we make you laugh. But most times, we take a week off and then go deep. I'm your host, David Cameo, and I'm joined by Cosmom09 Rachel Burt and Sharon DK Blazy Gardner, whose camera just went out.
Oh, no.
All right, so the first thing I wanted to say off the top was it's been a good little break, and I'll tell you why. On my first watch, on my second watch, my reaction video, there's so many shocking things that you don't pay attention to the little things. And so in having a week to distance myself and know what's coming and generally the big hitting points of this episode, I got to pay attention to some little things that I didn't notice on first watch or second watch or third watch because they're just so shocking.
I'm kind of the opposite of you. The first time I watch it, I'm just enjoying it. I have to have this week to be able to watch it and be analytical. Rachel and I rewatched it last night, and I got more out of that rewatch after like a week.
Oh, okay.
I did the first 3 times I watched it in a row.
Yeah, so then you exactly like me right now. I was just so shocked by the first few watches that I was just like, I can't break this down.
It's not really. But I mean, I'm like that with every episode. Really.
Oh, okay.
It's not really the shock factor, although it was pretty shocking. But it's more just the way my brain works that way. Give me a few days. And then let me watch it again and talk about it.
Mm-hmm. That's me normally, but like even with all that, I just couldn't bring myself to sit down and review it. And if I did, I didn't want to. I'm just put it that way. I didn't want to initially. I just needed some distance.
Yeah, no, I'm the same way. The first time I watch an episode, I just take it in and enjoy it. I'm not trying to pick anything apart. I just sort of let it wash over me, and then the next few times I watch it is when I try to pay attention to more other things and, watch the background instead of what's happening in front of my face and that kind of stuff. But I mean, I if you're saying like, it was so shocking that I wasn't able to concentrate on other areas, I don't think I really get like that. I'll just watch it again. If I think I missed something, I'll just watch it again and again.
I think we all do the same thing. We all watch to enjoy. But even in my watching for enjoyment, the problem that I had with this episode was there's so many shocking moments that I couldn't even pay attention to anything else. Like, there were some things where, like, they were saying things like, I can't hear what they're saying. I can't hear what she's saying. She just chopped her arm off. I what? now ooze is coming out of her stump. What? You're just, I'm bombarded by all this shit. And I'm like, I can't. It's so shocking that it's just like, you hear the blood pumping in your ears. You're like, what is happening? Why is so many things happening this episode?
There's no time to process what you're watching before something else hits you in the face.
That's the only thing I'm talking about. Like, analytical brain sometimes creeps up on me, sure, but even like enjoying the watch is like, what? I can't. Will, stop talking. I can't hear you right now. I can't hear you right now. Your stupid letter, I don't care. You went away. Good story. Okay, yeah. But now I finally listened to it. Now I actually heard him. So that's my deal. Even like after watching this episode finally to get notes, there are so many things that we have to kind of backtrack on because this season does start off sort of in medias res. We go all the way to the point where Will is yeeted off the roof, and then we backtrack, and then we come forward. Like just like the John Senior and June Dory episode is kind of like, okay, we went back sort of, and then we went just to go forward again. We did a little of that with Dwight and Sherry a little bit. We did a little bit of that with Morgan and Grace episode a little bit. It seems like we have to kind of backtrack with Arno and locking things down and to hearing him every now and again at Strand's Tower. Like, okay, let's go to the portrait, just the last episode. It seems like, it takes a while to start and finish a portrait. He's there every day. And then in that time, Arno comes to the tower. So we know that at some point he broke away from the bunker and is seeking out Strand. I noticed that the reason for that may be is because Arno interrupted the communications from the sub. Because Will finds out from the sub communications from Arno. So at some point, Arno's just like, fuck this Teddy guy. I'm out of here. Like, at some point that happened. He's like, I'm through wrangling this Alicia chick. I have no faith in Teddy, so let's go to Strand's Tower. And then he's like, oh, you're going to reject me, blah. And then the stalkers had been happening the whole time, and that was him too. So do you guys have to add anything to that? Because it's true that we find out Arno is the reason why walkers are being stripped naked because he doesn't, out of some spite, want Alicia to find the senator. And that's something I kind of wanted to drill down on a bit too, on top of Arno being the stalker's leader and stuff like that. So let's talk about that a little bit.
Okay, so we'll start with like my big beef, but
does it always have to be a beef?
Well, I just don't like what I'm seeing, and I hope it's what Sharon said, but I don't like the idea that walkers remember who they are, like remember things. Like, I don't like that idea. So if they're trying to like
there,
yeah, okay, I don't. Well, okay, I would think Arno believes this as well, and that would be why he doesn't want Alicia to find the senator. Somehow he must know she's trying to find this place or whatever, and she thinks that the senator can lead her there because he's going to remember somehow and just walk there. I don't know. That's what I'm like, what? Really? Really?
But I think it sounds like to me that for a little while, at least, Arno was following her. We have to backtrack and figure out the sequence of events that led to them stripping walkers. Right. Because we see, what? When we meet Will, it had been a certain amount of days. I think it was
51 or
59, something? Yeah, something like that. Days from the time that he left the bunker. Is that right? Mm-hmm. Okay, so right. It took that long for Arno to figure out, this is stupid. I'm a go now. Right?
Yeah.
Okay. But we don't have any idea why they ended up leaving. I mean,
right. They may have left as a big group, right?
Well, they may have left as an entire group. Maybe they got overrun. Maybe because Alicia, apparently the tunnels collapsed. Maybe walkers got in that way or something. Maybe they got overrun, and that's why everybody. We don't really know why Arno decided to leave the bunker.
Yeah.
I think Alicia made that not clear, but I'm getting like drips and drabs from the end of the portrait last episode, which was he was with us, but now it was not. So we have to figure out when that happened, right? At some point, he left Alicia's side. He'd been supporting her you know, by hook and by crook, even like throwing the other guy into which we saw in this episode, we throwing the other guy into the senator's mouthy mouth. So at some point he breaks away. And we know more though, too. We know that some of Alicia's people, the people that were loyal to Alicia, had been killed because of the first episode, because of the lighthouse. He's like, oh, that's our people. Well, what happened here? They're all in Teddy's jumpsuits, right? So this is the thing that we noticed, the blue jumpsuits. Interesting. So there must have been a schism at some point. People that still followed Alicia and people that still follow. Will, again, is none the wiser. He's trying to pick up the pieces as much as everybody else. Oh, I know these people. They were with Alicia-ish. They're loyal to Alicia. They could have been Arno's people. We don't know. But he left before he could find out. If I had to take a guess, and this is just my guess, I would think that at some point within that 2-month span, let's say up to 2 month span, because we see that Will finally sees a stalker stripping people and he's like, what the fuck is this shit? What is it? And then we find out later it's Arno. So within that 2 month period, he's like, well, and hey, kudos to Arno. He's stuck in there for 2 months in an accelerated apocalypse, right? That's like, you know, most marriages, right? Survive that long before divorce. So, you know, in apocalypse terms, right? So, and after that split, he seeks out Strand. So then the conclusion that we have is that Will gets yeeted off a roof and then Arno contacts Strand. So there's like this hang time between. So we kind of know at what point Arno contacts Strand because of all this little tiny bits of evidence. Midway into this portrait thing, right just after eating Will. So we're getting a sense of time and geography and knowing where everything is and where everybody is. So I like that. But like going back to, so does that jive with everybody so far? Because, I mean, it doesn't ultimately matter because do we also think that Arno is dead?
No, I don't think Arno is dead.
I don't think so.
Interesting. So you don't think that Strand eliminated the rest of them?
They came in and they blew up whoever was there with the nuclear stuffed walkers, but there's no saying that Arno was there in particular. He could have split already.
Yeah.
Just left his lackeys out there to get blown up.
Okay. Oh, and yeah, there was something that either I mentioned in the reaction video or maybe even the last episode that he's too pretty to die.
Yeah, you did say that.
Something like that.
We also got to find out for sure why Arno didn't want Alicia to find the senator. He probably believes that the walkers remember shit too, which is the whole reason Alicia's following the senators, because she thinks he's going to lead her to Padre, whatever that is.
Or well, maybe it's that he was through with her trying to, kind of like what Strand is doing. I'm gonna take the Senator Walker out so that Alicia doesn't have a choice but to follow Teddy, let's say, you know. So maybe that's why he's doing that instead, not to find Padre or to isolate but to like basically make the Walker blend into the other walkers so that she'll never find Padre, but still using walkers as weapons.
Or something could have happened between them that, well, I mean, she already came in and was like, we're not going to do things this way. We're going to, no more returning to the earth. So maybe they split on an ideological path. And, you know, he's like, hey, if you're going to ruin what we had here, I'm going to ruin what you're after. It's kind of spite. That's spite.
Exactly what I'm saying. Yeah. And so we have to backtrack a little bit more because in the Breathe With Me episode, the Sarah episode with Josiah, well, they're distributing these naked walkers quadrant by quadrant, equidistantly or whatever it is. So, wow, he's really going all out to make sure she never has the ability to seek out Padre. And furthermore, putting all these naked obstacle walkers everywhere so that they pose a hazard to her.
Maybe it's not even really that he wants to stop her from finding Padre. He's just being spiteful because of whatever happened between them in the bunker. Could have nothing to do with Padre, or he just knows that's something she wants, so he's just going to spite her in any way he can.
That's a lot of work to go through.
What else does he have to do?
Yeah.
Wow. It's just funny to think about. And again, it's important to mention that, like, we talk about survival on these shows a lot, like on these episodes a lot. And then when it comes to things like this, like, okay, making time to be spiteful, that seems like ambitious. That seems like I'm extra. Like, it's not just important to survive, it's important to spite. I mean, thrive, right? So, yes, a guy's got to have something to do, right? I don't know. It's good to draw these things out because that's kind of important.
Who else does that sound like? Strand.
But yeah, well, yeah. Even I'd mentioned that too. Like, well, art, yoga, golf. Yeah, what is that? It's survival is important, right? No, guys, we have to enjoy ourselves while we're doing it, right? So Arno's enjoying himself. He's gotta get a hobby. Yeah, but even still, like, it still feels okay. It's kind of like the way you guys felt initially at the beginning of The Walking Dead World Beyond, when it's like, what is the CRM's reasoning behind doing all the things that they do? What is it? Oh, we still want to know what it is, why they did all this genociding, and it still feels like we don't know the answer to that. And so this is similar. This Arno thing is so similar. You still don't 100% know why he does what he does. The stripping of the dead, putting them in different quadrants. There's still a little bit missing in this ingredient. I mean, to the point where, like, in the I'm gonna call it the Dark Horses episode. At the end of the episode, Dwight and Sherry and Mickey meet up with, is it Alicia? Who is the person that they spoke to at the end? Right? Is it Alicia and her people, or was it with all of them still in one together? And Will hadn't been yeeted off a roof yet.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Oh,
see, that's another thing, right? Because I wasn't 100% certain when that split occurred, right?
Right.
So, right. So what does that mean? That also means that it's possible that the Dark Horses episode, which occurred after Breathe With Me, occurred before that episode chronologically, if Arno is still together, right? This is getting a little bit fuzzy. This is why I bring it up all the way back to the beginning when I said this is shocking, because and I can't, my brain can't hold on to certain thoughts, and there's so much going on here because we've seen too much. And you get to this episode and shocking things happen, and then you have to start to piece all these weird things together to get some sort of continuity, because it's not linear. It may not be linear.
Okay, but we know that Dwight and Sherry came to Victor after June and Senior were there, because he says June and Dory are here. And that was 79 days after, so that is well after when Will was there.
Good point. Thank you.
That is linear.
Okay. So we know that the split must have happened. Ugh.
Well, I think I want to say they were already split, because the reason Alicia is looking for Sherry and Dwight is so that they could find the senator. So I would assume that Arno had already split off from them by that episode.
Right. In time. Okay. Yeah, I can accept that. Yeah. And so the guy they meet up at the end is just some rando that's under Alicia, essentially. Yeah. In the same-ish uniform as Alicia. But
yeah.
It's Alicia with a voice modulator. Gotcha. Okay.
There you go.
Essentially. It's like the Michonne episode. It's the silhouette of Michonne. It's not really the actor. Yeah. It's like, we didn't know if we can get Alicia Denham Carey for the episode, so fake Alicia Denham Carey. That sounds exactly like her. Okay. I think this is probably about as good as we're going to be able to get in terms of timeline, what's been happening, how it happened. We don't know why still. We don't know the motivations, but I think it's important that we at least brought it up.
My number one beef was Alicia insisting that Will kill her if she gets a fever. Okay, I mean, I get it. You don't want to turn and hurt people, but just a fever, you just cut your arm off. Man, that fever could come from anything.
Right.
Like, wait until you turn, and then, hey, if I die, kill me. Don't let me turn. But
if I die, kill me again.
Kill me. And, like, the whole basis of why they split up is based on this one insanely irrational demand. Kill me if I get a fever. What? No. That bugged me a lot.
I completely agree. Now, I mean, maybe Alicia is at a place where she's just done. And she doesn't want to fight anymore. I don't see that from her, but whatever. That's one thing, but I don't even like that. No, you don't need to die just because you get a fever. If you die, then someone can, stab you in the head so that you don't turn. You don't have to be killed before you actually die, because you might pull through. And look, you did.
So I kind of agree with you guys. There's a couple things that kind of echo, that kind of rattle around in my skull when I think of why Alicia makes this sort of promise, or why she makes Will adhere to this promise. One is people who insist on DNRs, the do not resuscitate. So even if I can be resuscitated, do not resuscitate. Even me. Okay. And I think maybe we're all in the same camp in this. I don't understand that personally. I don't understand why anybody would not want to be resuscitated if they don't have the ability to breathe. But there comes a certain point where, like, and this is just me speaking now. At this point now, it's just me. There's a certain point where I have to be like, okay, I can't claim to understand it. I'm vehemently against it. But if that's you, all right. Okay, that's what you want to do. Now, everybody has their own reasonings for doing that or for having a DNR. I don't claim to fully understand them, but and so that's the way I'm kind of regarding Alicia in this instance. It's like, if I even have a whiff of this zombie virus, I'm not. See, this is us trying to understand her motivations. I don't even want a chance getting anybody hurt. She's at this point where, like, I wasn't able to save my friends from this nuclear attack. I wasn't able to save anybody. I don't even think I could save anybody here. And so at least I'm not going to bite people and kill them and make them die.
I think there's a big difference between letting someone die and killing them. Like a DNR, you're letting them die. You're not killing them. You're not actively stabbing them in the brain. She's asking him to stab her in the brain before she's dead. That's
an aggressive DNR.
Yeah. Yeah. That's like a preemptive DNR. That's like a do it before our I don't know what those letters are.
Minority Report DNR.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
And that's the thing that really, but that I want to hone in on, is that instead of saying that's bullshit, because it's easy. Even I'm saying, resuscitate, please resuscitate. Like, before you think I'm even stopping breathing, can you resuscitate me? Just in case, resuscitate me. But her saying this is a message. It's a message to us about where she's at up here.
That's how I took it.
That's the takeaway.
That was the only way I could take it. Yeah.
And that's important because from the first episode, I said to you guys, look at this guy. Look at Gus Halpert. I memorized this guy's actor's name because he's so good. Like, seeing him again and emote in this episode, like, and finally I get to pay attention to it. I'm like, he is so good at exhibiting this tangible desperation. And in this episode again, and I will get back to it, he does it again. And it's so important. What would it be like for the average person like you and me to come to Strand's Tower and see, oh God, there's spaghetti and meatballs in front of me. I'm going to scarf this down without any shame. And then, it makes you think of our other characters. Where are they at mentally? And now you see it with Alicia. That's where she's at mentally. She was stuffed against her will into a bunker. She can't do anything. She can't save her friends in spite of everything she's trying to do. So this is where she's at mentally. She's like, I'm done. Like you said, I'm done.
Yeah.
And as long as I'm done, I don't want to hurt anybody else. I can't anymore. I can't lead these people. They expect me to lead. I couldn't save my own friends. But I think there's more to it though too. When they're down there in the tunnel and she's just gotten bit and she's realizing it's over, everything's over. She's speaking like, I see her get bit and I know that she survives later. I see her with Morgan later, with the bony arm and everything. But in that moment, I'm still like, she's so convincing to me that, like, I feel like I get where she is at. If I was bit, I'd feel this way too. It's over. What was the whole point? Like, I tried so hard to keep everybody together and to bring people into this new place. And
and I get it.
I'm
when
done.
She first gets bit and all that. I understand because you're freaking out. Oh my God. And then she wakes up, and the first thing she does is get mad because he didn't kill her. Hey, look around, Alicia. Hey, things worked out. I'm not dead. I didn't die. It's okay. I don't have to lose my shit on him.
Right. And this is where I'm going to take it next. There is a more important point. Why are they even down there to begin with? Following a walker to begin with.
Trying to escape.
The rats out of the tunnels?
Yeah. So they're taking the senator. Well, they could just follow the rats, right? Couldn't they?
Yeah.
Without the senator?
Well, yeah, I also said to Rachel when the senators come after the tunnel falls in and Alicia's sitting there, she's like, "Oh, he's coming back. Girl, grab your weapon."
She did. She was trying to. She couldn't find it.
But she sat there and
she
and
built a
whined about
wall
it for a few seconds. Yeah, she was building the wall. Grab your weapon first and have it handy.
She was obviously not a Democrat. It's an inside joke there. Anyway,
I mean, really, you'd rather get bitten than kill this walker because you think it might do. What are you doing? Now, of course, I will also say this, and this is something else I mentioned the other night to Rachel, but she has not slept since like the holding.
Mm-hmm.
Like she has been,
and even then it wasn't that great. If you remember,
has been awake for a season,
right?
Like, she's tired.
Let this poor girl sleep.
So I can see, she is not thinking straight.
But did she even sleep in the holding? Because if you remember, he was like,
no, that's what I said. She
over
hasn't
in a
slept
loop
since the holding.
Since before that, it's crazy. So we've got that, fine. But then you've got tons of rubble collapsing on her head. We are able to see everything, but she's got rocks and shit on her, and she's at the very least she's trying to get a wall up in front of her to protect herself from the senator, because you realize she has to raise her voice to raise Will. And she's like, well, do I raise my voice to raise Will?
Then kill the senator so you do not get bitten. I mean,
she can't find her weapon. I don't know. There's like I know.
No, I get it.
She built a
She
damn
found
wall.
it fast enough when she was trying to grab it.
Yeah.
Why didn't she grab it and have it in front of her before that?
She knew where it was. She
It's
didn't
not
want to
she didn't
kill
know
him.
he was there.
She didn't want to kill him. She just wanted to separate herself from the senator. She wasn't.
Oh wait,
She wasn't
that's
gonna
right. She
kill
doesn't
him.
want to have to kill the senator.
Right.
But this goes to my point.
But she should have.
Ultimate,
The point is, she should have.
right. But why didn't she?
Because she's delirious and thinks he remembers something.
Will was all sad about it.
But then we have to keep asking why. Why? Right?
Because she knew him.
She felt bad.
Or
she
he
felt
knew him.
bad. She felt bad that she didn't remember what it was like to know that those people used to be living people.
Yeah.
Right. Well, yeah, that, but also like what she used to be too, a human being in this world. Like, like someone who existed in the world before. She wanted to know what that felt like again. Seeing Will reminded her of that person that she was, the artist. I think it was that she was an artist, right?
Mm-hmm.
So
she was a high school student.
Right.
Yeah. Well, right. So, and that's kind of like the point. She indulged that part. And I think that's why when it comes down to the fever, she's like, I got bit because of this. I'm not taking any chances at this point. I'm snapping back. And like you're talking about Morgan refusing to be the person he used to be, Victor embracing hardcore the person he used to be, and Alicia snapping back as well, being this, oh, no, I'm the survivor again. I'm the badass Alicia that everybody expects me to be on the show. And so that's what I'm going to be. She snaps back to that. You see this Alicia that goes rubber bandy back and forth, and now she's being that person, rejecting the notion of her indulging this, like, this is, oh, the walkers used to be something, so obviously let's follow them to this promised land. Yay. It's like a micro version of Morgan's journey, honestly. Like Morgan keeps trying to do things, building something that's not possible, essentially. I forget the exact words.
Something along those lines, yeah.
And so we see that in Alicia in a microcosm, like in a little, just in like a 2-act play. It's in this tunnel. And yet, when she emerges, she wants her being bit or dying to mean something. And Morgan finally sees that as well. You know, like by the end of the episode, because Morgan's just like, you better have a reason, or I'm cutting this damn thing's head off, right? But then when he sees that she's been bit and her arm was amputated, and she leaves this reminder of her bones of her former arm there, he's like, something happened here. I feel bad that I wasn't there to. I saw that in his face. I feel bad that I wasn't there to stop this.
Yeah,
I wished I could have been there. There's a little disappointment there.
Because everybody needs.
You don't think so?
Because everybody needs Morgan to save them, right?
No. You know, that's the silly thing, is that I think you would be the same thing.
That's how
same way.
he feels, though. Like, this is my fault because I wasn't there. Like, somehow he'll blame himself that Alicia lost her arm. That's Morgan's style.
So hold on a second. So you wouldn't feel the same way as Morgan?
That it was my fault? No,
not that it wasn't your fault, but like that you'd feel responsible. Like, oh, I wish that I was there. I feel bad that I wasn't there.
I mean, I don't think feeling responsible and wishing I was there are exclusive. Sure, I can be like, oh man, I wish I could have been there, you know, but no, actually, I wouldn't have wanted to be there. No, because what if we both would have died? No.
Oh, come on.
It could have been worse.
Logically, I know where you're standing here. But you as a person, you as Rachel, if you saw that somebody had gotten hurt, even if there's no logical way that you could have been there, you would want to be there to stop that from happening.
I mean,
I wished I could have been there. We say this to people all the time. I wish I could have been there to stop this, or or at least we have these feelings of like, I wish I could have been there so that didn't happen.
Does this make me a terrible person that I don't like? I do feel bad. Like, I'm like, oh man, that really sucks. I'm so sorry that you have to go through that. But never once was I like, I should have been there to stop it. Like,
well, maybe it's okay. So let's take it closer to home. Okay, let's say your kid gets bullied in school.
Okay, now you're talking about my kid, though.
Yes,
not
no,
a
but
friend.
that's what I'm talking about. This is Morgan and Alicia's evolution, though. Morgan, after watching Nick die, and also stopping Alicia from killing not Naomi at the time, Naomi and Laura June, feels responsible over Alicia. I saw that in an instance. I'm like, oh, that's what's happening here. That's what's happening here. He feels responsible for her. And she's still like kind of like not a kid.
Oh,
but
I
like,
agree. I completely agree.
You know?
Morgan feels responsible for everyone. Yes.
Well, no, but in particular, Alicia, as a kid.
I mean, I think he feels equally responsible for everybody he's ever come across.
Well, I mean, he did like spend more time on Alicia in season 5 trying to make her zen and all, but you know,
having these quips back and forth and hard conversations. Yeah. So, and throughout the season too, even up to the point where they find the tree, or she paints that tree that says "You're still here," or "No one's gone till they're gone," etc. So there is a canon explanation for, and then obviously going back to Nick and his demise, and then being there for her when he needed her to stop going after June from killing her. So there is an evolved close relationship that has emerged as a result of their interaction. And so that's why I kind of brought up, okay, it's the equivalent of like knowing that there's no way you could have reasonably stopped a bully from bullying your kid. There's still a part of it that's like, oh,
watch me.
I'm not going to do it, but I would want to fuck that kid up. That's the equivalent, in my mind when I saw that. Like, oh, I'm gonna fuck this kid up, but I'm really not, because that would be illegal.
But in this particular case, the bully that fucked up his kid is right there. So he could take this walker out, because that is the fucker that bit Alicia.
And that's the struggle. And that's kind of what I'm getting to, right? That's the struggle, right? And even more so because he's had that struggle previously. He understands. He's like, I let this happen. This is Alicia's Jenny Jones moment. I let this happen to me. I saw it. She says it to Will just early. He's like, if you don't remember that these guys are just walking corpses, that's when things get dangerous, is what she says. Mm-hmm. And so she's eating her words. It's her Jenny Jones moment. I let this, and yet she still needs it to mean something. Who does that remind you of? Morgan. She still needs it to mean something. And yet Morgan is not that way anymore. Or it seems clear after several episodes, a season and a half, that Morgan is not this way anymore. He's refusing to allow himself to be this "it's my way or the highway" anymore. So it's interesting to see these people switch sides now.
If you want to talk about Morgan taking responsibility for things,
let's use better words here, because I don't think Morgan...
This is what I mean. I'm
saying let me use better words here, because let's bring up the bully situation, right? In an ideal world, Morgan would have wanted to be there to stop that from happening, because he is a dad. He is a dad figure. He was the father of a child, and this is who he will always be. And so when he sees somebody that he feels maybe is in his charge, it's not that he feels responsible for what happens. Just like Madison at some point, right? Because she's coming back and we're not talking about it this episode. We're not giving that oxygen. But just like Madison eventually had to figure out that she had to let her girl be a woman and make her own decisions, go out and come back. And yes, you could question that decision, right? But at some point you have to let people go to be who they're meant to be, right? You can't, it's like the Catcher in the Rye. You can't micromanage every little movement that they have. They have to be their own autonomous person. And just like things are accelerating in the apocalypse, people grow up really fast, Carl. So Morgan is kind of learning that. I mean, you don't see him going, I wish I could have been there. Starts tearing his clothes off and shit. No, he doesn't. He's sad. He has the appropriate response, a measured, appropriate response. He's like, damn it, And then to the point where he indulges her. He says, okay, if that's the way this is going to be, I guess I'll follow this through, but I don't like it, but I'm going to do it.
Okay, so everybody's blaming Strand for everything. Strand got in the way on the submarine. Strand is the one who did this. Strand is the one who did that. Even when the guys that are shooting at them are like, he tried to kill Strand in his own house, and Lucia's like, what? And then they never address it again. Like, it never fucking comes up again. Oh, okay, fine.
It sort of does, but yeah.
Strand must have deserved it or whatever. And Alicia doesn't know about the key, right? She was gone. She was in the holding.
The key to the sub?
Mm-hmm.
The key to the sub. Mm-hmm. Because she was gone. She was in the holding. She does not know that Morgan is the one who gave the key up.
To Riley.
And in dreams.
Oh, yeah, Morgan is, yeah. Yeah, I thought you said Victor for some reason.
No, Morgan.
Yeah, go ahead.
So why is this never coming up, ever? Ultimately, you want to talk about Morgan being responsible? Ultimately, Morgan is responsible. because he gave the key up for Grace. So they keep laying everything on Strand, and my God, they are making me fucking defend Strand on this show.
So,
but why do they keep laying everything on Strand? And Morgan, Morgan's like, oh yeah, Strand tried to kill me, but he never tells her, oh, I'm the reason I'm the reason the nuclear bomb went off. And I mean, I'm not even saying this. That you notice I'm not bringing June into this whatsoever. This has nothing to do with June.
No, but here's there's a clear difference between Morgan and Strand when it comes to choices. Like, first of all, we all agree, well, mostly, that why would you want to go against the crazy, just lost her child, or I don't know, not having just had her child yet, pregnant Grace, going, give her the key, goddammit. It's like, okay, you can have the key. Here, take the key.
Maybe so that you don't blow up the world?
Wait, so let me move past that, because that was the funny thing that we discussed at the time. It was like, okay. But at the same time, would Riley have stopped?
If you want to go back that far, then why didn't Morgan just kill Riley in the first place when he killed all the other guys?
Good point. No, that's a good point. And he tried to. He was fairly injured.
He could have killed Riley easily. He let him go. He killed all the other guys, and he let Riley go.
He tells him to go, doesn't he?
So my point is, he's not taking any of the responsibility for what's happened. That everybody's blaming Strand for everything.
Well, I would say this, though, because what Strand's actions contain that Morgan's does not is malice against his supposed friends. That is an injury. That's an insult. Like, so yeah, it is, like, if you really have to compare, Strand's actions are malicious.
Well, just to Morgan,
say what you want about Morgan's, say what you want about Morgan's stupidity. There's ignorance and then there's malice.
But I mean, but what I'm saying is, malice. Morgan is not volunteering this. He's like, oh, Alicia, it's my fault. You can be mad at Strand, that's fine, but you should also be mad at me because I fucked up too. But he doesn't say that shit.
Yeah, but he's not. Why would you willingly offer that shit? But I will say this much:
to be honest,
you want to be the stand-up, honesty. You want to be honest.
The problem is,
guy.
The problem is, it's not even necessary because we find out later on. Alicia knows in the past that what Victor's done already. So she has no reason to question Morgan, even though it is kind of surprising that Morgan does attempt to kill Strand. She gets it, though. Oh, he tried to kill you. Makes sense. Still shocking. Makes sense.
But maybe
that's how she put it.
She doesn't know the history of what all happened, though. It's easier for her to believe that Strand is the bad guy because she doesn't have all the information about what went down.
Oh, Strand is the bad guy. Are we going to split hairs here?
Like I said, they're making me defend Strand. This is terrible.
No, I'm not questioning what Strand is trying to do necessarily, but it's how he's doing it, right? Do the means justify the ends?
Strand is the bad guy, but Alicia thinks he's the bad guy for the wrong reasons. By the way,
did you notice that we're flipping right now? Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
I was like so pro Strand by the beginning of the season, even when Will got yeeted.
Like, you felt bad for Strand.
I still feel bad for Strand. Yeah. I still do. Yeah, I still do. Okay. But I'm recognizing that he's got the looking glass here.
He is the bad guy, but at least give Alicia all the information so that she can make the right call for herself.
And this is a question that I had last night. What exactly did Strand do to make Alicia so mad at him? What horrible, terrible thing did he do to make her just not even want to see his face?
So there's a couple of things that we can draw from that are clear, though. One is what Strand felt he had to do by assigning Alicia to a faraway post so that they couldn't be near each other. Where at the beginning of that episode, which was 6:02, it was Welcome to the Club. Mm-hmm. They start off together, just doing things together, being happy in each other's presence, shoveling shit. And then by the end of it, Strand forces themselves to separate. Now, Alicia and Strand were supposed to be ride or die, especially by the end of season 4, bonding over Madison's departure, over beer. Like, we remember these scenes, that they're trying to be thick as thieves in her mother's name. So we get to the end of the episode and it's like, okay, what? Then they have that face-off in Damage from the Inside.
Damage from the Inside.
In 607. And that was interesting, too. Is Strand going to shoot them? Is Morgan going to stick his stick in Victor's neck?
It's really interesting now because you go back and you're like, oh my God, give her to Strand. Give her to Strand. What are you doing?
Yeah. Hand her over.
Right, exactly.
I mean, I didn't see that as
But wait,
enough.
There's
for Alicia to just totally cut him off.
Wait,
oh my god, I don't ever want to talk to you again.
But there's a third thing, and this kind of ties us back to why she wants to do the DNR thing. She hears from Will just after waking up that Strand was responsible, or this is not me. Strand got in the way. That's what she heard.
So
That's what she
proves
heard.
My point that Alicia needs all the information.
She's still gonna she doesn't need more information after what I just told you from her perspective.
No, those first two things were not reason enough to totally end the friendship.
But all together.
But the third one, which is the kicker, is
literally
incomplete information. It's incomplete information.
But even still, it gets to the point where so much... First of all, she knows who she's dealing with. It's not as though they haven't been riding together since the beginning of the apocalypse ending. She knows how shady he can be. And she's seen it for herself. So it's not a strange thing. So even with all the information, even if he's trying to... And he even says, it's worked. She's like, but I know it works, but I know what you had to do. And this comes up. I know what you had to do in order to obtain this tower. You had to screw over our friends, whom I was trying to get back to. So you see the dichotomy of these two characters thinking that they have it, they know exactly what they need to do to save people. Alicia not knowing exactly what to do, but she's trying to get back to them. And then Strand willfully kicking Morgan to claim some sort of victory. She doesn't know exactly what he did, but she knows that whatever he did, it made it possible so that Teddy could blow up the nukes from her perspective.
But that's not the whole story. I mean, if that's...
it doesn't... Exactly. But it doesn't matter that's not the whole story,
It does, though, because that's the straw that broke the camel's back. That is what pushed her over the edge, because she was fine with his snaky ways before then. She, like you just said, she knows Strand. She knows how he is. She knows his personality. So why now? Why would this be the thing that draws the line? And she's like, nope, I know you're a snake, but this is the one thing that I can't back you on, because she doesn't know the whole story.
It's still not... I'm seeing what you're seeing, but I'm saying it's still not enough. She knows who she's dealing with. And
exactly, if he's supposed to be her friend, they're supposed to be friends, then she should know that there should be something else to that story.
Okay, here's the linchpin. Okay, I get it now. Okay, here's going to be the linchpin. You know canon that's not true, because who does Alicia decide to trust over Victor when it comes to saving her friends? She says, tell Morgan. She says to Victor, tell Morgan about the nuke plan. She doesn't say, hey, Victor, tell our friends to save everybody in the sub. She says, no, tell Morgan to gather our friends. It doesn't matter what we think the whole story is. It doesn't matter what she feels like she thinks. She didn't trust Victor from a long time, from Welcome to the Club, it seems like, because of what happens in that instance. And it's the very thing that makes Victor break from... That's actually the thing that makes him do what he does to Morgan, is Alicia deciding to trust Morgan over Victor. So in the end of the day, if she may have even gotten the full story, she might blame herself even more. Because of her actions as a result of what happened during season 6, she may have caused the Victor that emerged today. Now, Victor doesn't know the cost, but she finds out later on what the cost was, and that's yeeting Will off the roof, whom she sees on the ground. And we're going to war! So we have everything we need to piece together things. Now, I see what you guys are saying. I really do see what you guys are saying. I don't happen to agree. I see what they're trying to paint, and maybe they didn't paint it well enough to show that there could have been a different way of looking at things. But I feel like Alicia herself, even if it doesn't make sense, she feels like as though she has enough information to judge Victor accordingly. Whether that's right or wrong, maybe we'll see.
Well, she always did. She always did. She's always known who he was. There was a breaking point. The nukes were the breaking point.
I would even say, yeah, the breaking point for her was finding out maybe the nukes. Yeah, but I think the breaking point for Victor was...
But that was
when she decided to trust Morgan.
I feel like that was the one thing that wasn't Strand's fault, though. That's like the one thing that he didn't do. He had nothing to do with setting off the nukes.
I mean, one can argue, even though you're right when you say him kicking Morgan into the walkers was the way they got the key to get into the place, but
if anything,
it still doesn't change.
If anything, he helped.
He helped, right. But here's the thing, that's completely incidental of Victor's actions.
Of course.
Right, so that's the point. So Alicia would still see this narrow because she's Alicia. We can't not forget that she is Alicia and she has a point of view. That she would see this and be like, you're fucking, what happened to you? Right? You're my friend. I remember saying the same words when it came to the end of Welcome to the Club. You're my friend and you're sending me away? Right? I thought that we needed each other to keep each other on our toes, to survive this apocalypse together. I don't recognize the person that I've been hanging out with this whole time. That's why I feel the way I do. I'm taking the whole thing into account. I'm not just taking the positive results of Strand's Tower or like what she felt like she had to do or what he felt like he had to do. We understand Strand, but Alicia's like, I've had enough. I don't trust you, Victor, she says in this episode as well, as far as I can throw you, or as far as I can yeet you. By the way, it was really cool to see Will's broken spine. These are the things that I missed on like first few watches. Like, oh yeah, that's why he's crawling on the floor. He can only operate shoulder up because his spine is like, what is it called when it's compacted? What is it called?
Compacted.
Compounded. Yeah, his spine was compound fractured. It was like an accordion. It was like burp, 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 burp. It was gross. And like you saw me roll my eyes in the reaction video. I'm like, out of all the walkers in all this world, he had to crawl into mine.
Okay.
You knew that was going to happen, right?
Let me tell you why.
Oh, yes, please.
Because he remembers. Alicia's right.
God damn it.
They can remember stuff.
Somehow I knew we were going to do this too. Like, but that's where the show wants you to be. The show wants you to spooky beta shit. The show wants you to be but can
that's why
they?
Will didn't bite her. That's why Will didn't bite her. He kept crawling toward her and he just stopped. He's like, and she's just standing there looking at him. And he's like, I remember you.
Yeah, long enough to reach out and grab the medallion. And he's just like, oh, there's a hand right there, but I'm going to ignore it.
Yep.
No, there isn't a hand there. That's why.
No, she grabbed it with her actual hand.
Oh, with her good hand? Okay.
With her good hand. Her actual hand.
Alicia with the good hand.
With the good hand, yeah, exactly.
Also, another reason Alicia might be so gung-ho about them being able to remember things is because she's afraid she's gonna die and she wants to be able to remember things.
That's fair. I mean, maybe now, but before she's like, DNR my shit. Get rid of me.
I still hope somebody would put her down before she turned.
Yeah. Well, and I think Morgan would too. Like he was indulging her in as much as maybe a dying woman's wish. The Walker Senator could find Padre, maybe. Like I found that kind of sweet though, in a way. Like he puts up a really good argument / fight / fuck you, Alicia. Like this is not. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing this because that's how my son died. Like that was palpable. But then seeing how things turned out for her in trying to indulge us and saying like, I know what happened, but this has to mean something. This has to mean something. I'm dying. This has to mean something.
Well, maybe
that's
she feels
sad.
That if she dies and she remembers something, that means something. Her death means something if she can remember something important.
She, at this point, yeah. And of course, it's hot. She hasn't eaten in days. She's most likely suffering from something. So I don't necessarily trust what she's thinking right now, and neither should anybody. Mm-hmm. And yet, we're following her. It's, we're going to war. I keep thinking of that. Like, it's just so in the moment that it's just like some things just stick out in your head, like Coral, right? Like that's, or like Rick crying after Lori dies and stuff like that. Stuff that kind of sticks around and echoes in your brain. We're going to war is like in my head now. I can't get it out because it's another shocking thing that kind of just like, holy shit, are we doing this? What is happening? How do we get here?
Yeah, it felt like lines have been being drawn for a while now.
But like it feels like gravity. It feels like it's almost natural. Like it's not like if somebody just took 2 seconds to think things through. like, do we have to fight? Like because
Alicia,
I think
take a nap.
Yeah,
take a nap and
have a
something.
Snickers.
Have a Snickers. Take a nap. Yeah.
Yeah, but that's kind of what I mean, though, right? Like, could this be avoidable? Like, she seems amenable near the end of having her people. I don't know about her, but she says, promise me you'll take care of my people after I'm gone. And she says, you're not going anywhere. You seem to be fine. Promise me. And another promise to keep, right? She asks Will to make a promise, and now she's asking Victor to keep a promise. And then the person she originally made a promise to, the person that... And I love how they stitch the sequence of events. She sees Will, And it flashes right back to her. I know how to find out where Padre is. And she sees the note. And in the note, he goes, I know you need to be this person because seeing me will remind you of what people used to be. That's what I represent to you. And you don't need to be that. You need to be more than just a person who's meant to survive. You need to basically be what Teddy wanted you to be, essentially. And then the very last thing he says, maybe someday I will see what that world looks like. And then you see him on the floor, and I see that Alicia's like, well, I know what it cost you, Victor. And well, I'm going to make sure it costs you a lot. What does that say, though? Because there is a question that was in the ether of whether Alicia loves Will or loved Will. And I'm curious to know what you guys think of that. Because that may be a low-hanging fruit thing.
I never got that feeling. Like, she was like, I mean,
Yeah, not from
maybe
her.
he loved her, but I don't get the feeling that other than friendship, she had any feelings for Will at all.
Yeah. I think if he had stuck around, maybe it could have turned into something, but I don't think she,
Yeah.
I mean, I think it was easy for him to fall in love with her after 2 days because he hadn't seen anybody in like years, besides who he was stuck with and whatever. And it's Alicia. She's a badass. I mean, would not be attracted to that?
Which
meeting
he
her
sees
the
right
first,
away, yeah.
exactly. I could see how he could fall in love with her, but I don't think she was there yet.
Yeah. She helped him to not feel afraid or to by chance go outside when he really, really did not want to. And then at the end of of that episode, he does exactly what he feels she needs him to do, which is to leave her. And I think that says a lot about how he feels about her. But I also think she sees that and recognizes that. And I think when she sees him on the ground, it's like you kind of took what could have possibly been my future, in a sense, right? Mm-hmm. This is something we talked about when it came to The Walking Dead World Beyond in Iris, technically. But like, you took my past, you took my present, and now you took my future. You took what I was working so hard to, Iris at least, took what I was working so hard to be, sacrificing my own art in order to achieve that. But then you took that away too. What the fuck? But then it's one thing if it's a faceless, nameless executioner, but it's a whole other thing when it's somebody that was supposed to be your friend and, who was supposed to be your best friend, gave him the benefit of the doubt over and over again. And then you do this. You hurt me. You think that you were supposed to do this to prepare something for me, for us? You were supposed to do this to prepare something for us and our friends or whoever was loyal to you? Who are you fucking kidding me? What is the cost worth if it means you hurt me? Right? Because we have this question about what if she had seen Will in the walker mode? Was his intention to keep her away? We talked about this in the last episode. Was his intention to keep Alicia away or not? And so, like, what were you thinking, Victor? Were you not thinking? I don't know. Like, what were you expecting?
It did exactly what he wanted it to do.
Do you not want her away? And again, I'm fully acknowledging that people are irrational. People think irrationally. They think one way, but they really like Sharon, you acknowledged in the last episode, like he doesn't trust any newcomers because they don't remind him of Alicia, which is irrational because he wants Alicia away. Mm-hmm. For what?
I tell you what, they need a good therapist. I mean, if they just had a good therapist in the tower, or they could all just sit down and talk it out, and they wouldn't have to go to war, or they could just sit down and be like, I'm sorry, Alicia, I felt this way. She'd be like, I felt that way, and they could just smooth it all out.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, God, if only. Yep. I don't know how this gets resolved. I mean, we think it's going to go one way, but that's the way these shows go. They work one way. We think it's going to be formula, but it's not. It's not going to go the way we think it is.
I love getting surprised. I love it. I love it when they don't do what I think. Except for when it's not Padre Island. I was very upset about that.
In the back of my mind, even when you said that, I'm like, first of all, my immediate thought was, that's fucking genius, Sharon. My second thought was like,
it's way too easy.
It's way too easy. And then when he said it out loud, I was dying. You could see me dying. I'm like, I felt so bad for you, Sharon, because Gus Halpert's laughing in your face.
That was personal.
Gus Halpert had seen the podcast before shooting this episode, and he said, wait till Sharon hears this.
First they killed John, then they shot down my theory. Like, they just fucking hate me.
No, but he said it in such a way that he was trying to make you feel bad, Sharon.
It was a little too on the nose. Oh, fuck you.
God, that would be too... Are you stupid, Alicia? Sharon D. I was on that train, man. I just felt terrible for you. I was like,
I was so disappointed.
Will attacked Sharon D. Will just, well, he got his in the end, right? Fuck that guy.
That's why I'm glad Strand yeeted his ass off the tower. Go fuck yourself, Will.
Sharon D., would you say that's what you get?
No wonder I'm Queen Strand. That's what you get.
That's what you get.
Guys, you gotta lay him down quiet.
Oh my god. Rachel.
Guys.
We gotta be quiet, guys.
Make too much noise. Oh, I'm crying.
Oh my gosh.
Oh boy. I can't breathe.
I just make a meme out of it. I just made memes out of it. That's how I handle my pain.
That's right. That's how we deal with our feelings.
That was the funniest fucking meme. Padre would be too on the nose.
And I took that personally.
See, what happened was... thank you, Michael Jordan. I actually paused when Alicia opens up the Padre book. Do you want to know what's inside?
Yeah.
It's so cool. It's kind of cool. It has nothing. It's not helpful in any way to the episode whatsoever at all. I'm gonna say that out loud.
Son of a bitch.
But what's interesting about it is it points to a date, a specific date, September 13th and 14th, 1972.
That's the day after I was born. Fuck, it is all about me.
Interesting. But
oh shit!
It's a teletype message, and it talks about literally the Munich massacre. Actually, this is something I'm very intimately aware of because this is when the Black September group, this is a bunch of Palestinian terrorists, hold the Israeli Olympic team hostage and even killed many of them. I think it was, I don't know if it was all of them, but that's what the papers, every single paper that shows up that I could pause on talks about this. It's a very interesting thing. So now I'm wondering, of course, it doesn't mean anything, probably. But what does that date mean? Because we keep seeing dates pre-apocalypse for some reason that are coming up now. Like, so we got that 2001 date from the Project Votus from Walking Dead World Beyond. And so we figured out, okay, this maybe has been going on for way longer than we thought. Eventually, I feel like, again, I'm going to say this out loud. I don't know if this is going to make the episode, but I feel like we need to talk about the post-credit scene in a whole other separate episode because of this. Because of what we find out from Project Votus and that the events that happen, could they have been post-apocalyptic? I guess it would be post-apocalyptic because Dr. Jenner comes up and he's still alive post-apocalypse. So, but could this have all been going on longer? Now, could it have been going on since 72? I don't think so. But so what does that have to do with Padre? What does the 1972 Munich massacre have to do with Padre? I don't know.
Dharma Initiative.
There's a sub involved. There is a sub involved.
Yeah, right? Polar bear?
Yeah, exactly. So what's the deal? All the pages have everything to do with that.
All the pages were about the Munich massacre?
Yeah.
Or about the dates?
No, they're about the Munich massacre. All of them. They're talking about the FAA records. The FAA was Newark Airport. It's basically dictating what happened. Logan International. Yeah, so it's talking about this Munich massacre. These are supposed to be classified papers on, the last paper talks about the FBI involvement on November 4th, 1972. So, I don't know what to expect. There are certain numbers that are circled but I don't think they lead up to anything important at all. I think it could be a coded message. Maybe all these papers are from the past and you have to kind of have a cipher to kind of pick out the words to maybe find out where Padre Island, or not Padre Island, but Padre is located. Yeah, there's so many things upon second watch that make a little bit more sense. Like even in light of Arno stripping the dead is why Alicia puts the white paint on the senator. It's like, okay, even if Arno happens to be alive and gets this walker, we'll know where that walker is, essentially. But then why wouldn't Arno just put the walker down? That's the other confusing thing, right? Isn't it? Why doesn't Arno put the walkers down? Is he a whisperer? What's going on? Why is he so opposed to not bringing people back to the earth, right? Not making the walker mulch, part of the earth,
Oh, like
returning to the earth.
Like he at some point completely abandoned Teddy's ideas.
And then thought of some completely wildly different ones.
Was like, I want all the things. Bring me all the stuff and things. And so everybody started gathering things from the walkers. But
then okay, then why not put this I'm assuming he would find it. Why wouldn't he put all walkers down? To that point. just to confuse people, to have too many in the ether, like, like just to have them around.
I know, because there's still a threat even to him. So I don't know. I have no idea why you would want to keep them alive. It makes no sense.
Yeah, I don't know. I'd figure you'd want as many as possible. I guess maybe he wants them in her way. I don't know. Take her down. Fuck that girl.
He's putting himself. He's putting himself and everyone around him at risk too. Just to spite Alicia. That's
okay. That is good. I can accept that because that would be a good narrative comparison, right? Like, talk about what you're willing to put yourself through in order to reach the promised land or get back at someone.
He doesn't care about losing people because he was like, yeah, we lost the ones that were stuffing the radioactive pieces in the walkers. They all died.
Love it. Love it.
Yeah.
Love it. He cares to a point. He's like, okay, well, I can't kill all of them. We need some people to live in the tower. But then he stops at like, okay, we figured it out. Okay, some of these. Okay, so this is also something I wanted to get to after a week of really, really thinking about this. Because I thought about this immediately when the episode was over. But I had time to sort of digest it. It doesn't make sense that this is the case. But I thought that Grace had found a few of these 3, at least, walkers already and sent them towards Morgan, right? Because essentially, why this makes sense is because we see Victor bothering to send Rangers after Morgan to take him down. Why it doesn't make sense is how quickly these walkers were able to mobilize themselves to follow Morgan to wherever he was going to make sure that he dies. And to the point where it would make sense that Morgan is heading back to the sub. And so why not send these walkers after Morgan to take down the sub? I need your thoughts on this. You could tell me I'm wrong and I'm fully okay with that. I'm so fully okay with that. But there was that part of me that's like, oh, these walkers happen to be all radioactive walkers, happen to be following Morgan at the time. That is not a coincidence, is it?
Are they following Morgan? Because it's hard to, from what I saw, and again, and I could be totally wrong too, the camp, it's kind of hard to tell where we are in Alicia's little camp. Sherry and Dwight walk up with Morgan, and then he walks over to Alicia's tent, and then they're standing there. It seemed to me like they had come in on one side and then crossed over to the other side where Alicia's tent was, and then they see, or they hear about the walkers, and I can't really tell which direction they come from. My whole point to this is, I didn't think those walkers were following Morgan. It looked like they came from a completely different direction to me.
And there were horses and all kinds of noise at the camp. They could have been drawn by anything, not just following Morgan.
Yeah.
It's so there's a couple of things here. Wouldn't they have to be coming from Morgan's direction because that's where they were located originally, right?
Well, we saw
near Strand's Tower.
We saw some of them there. It doesn't mean that was all of them that they had made.
No, but maybe. The fact that there's even more than one. It happens to be 3 walkers with nuclear bombs in their bellies. This is the thing that drives me crazy because that is a real. Okay, 1 is something. 2 is like. But 3 of these walkers, that's when your mind kind of goes, what is, come on, really?
So what are you saying, that they remember Morgan?
No, I'm saying, is it possible that Grace got lucky, let's say, really quickly and found 3 walkers and Victor immediately sent them in Morgan's general direction.
Grace
to find him.
Grace found the walkers.
Right, because that was her job. Her job is to find these irradiated walkers so that they don't go off near Strand's Tower.
That was like a couple of hours later. I don't think.
I know. I listen. I understand, right? But it just seems very, very weird, right? Doesn't it seem very weird that out of all the walkers that could have come from Victor's moat, that those 3 happened to follow Morgan, generally speaking, because that's where they came from. They came from Strand's moat, or from the catapult that kind of blew up, or whatever. One of them would have been fine.
It is weird.
They could have just done 1.
It is weird.
That was my immediately thought, because oh, I'm stupid though. That was like hours later. How could Grace have been that quick? Maybe she could have been. I don't know.
I mean, it definitely felt like someone sent them to the camp, but it never crossed my mind that they were following Morgan, or that Morgan was the target, I guess.
Or that Victor was willfully doing it. But it makes sense only in as much, and again, I'm refuting myself saying, okay, that seems quick. What is the timeline? What happened here? How did this all go down?
Why don't you think it's Arno? Why don't you think Arno sent them?
Oh, because I keep thinking that Arno might be dead.
Oh.
I know I said what I said,
oh, okay.
But I keep thinking Arno might be dead and out of the picture at this point.
Okay.
But I also think that when we see the end of this episode, or not even the end, like midway into this episode, Victor's going after Morgan actively. He's like, oh, you tried to kill me in my house? Like, you're going down. And so I thought, okay, oh, well, if the irradiated walker didn't kill him and the Rangers saw he wasn't dead, they're like, oh, well, must be alive. We're going to continue to go after him. Let me even give myself more cover for my dumb thought. It's very possible that maybe they didn't need Grace to find, because it was a lot of walkers with radioactive nuclear bombs in their bellies or whatever, nuclear dirty bombs. So it could have been like, there could have been just 3 that were clustered together that they found immediately. And they were like, yep, let's send those after Morgan, right? Out of many that could have been scattered everywhere, they may have found the 3 that were clustered together because they were, generally walking off in a general direction. So maybe they found him right away and then sent him after Morgan. So I'm starting to think now, and it makes a lot more sense, that Victor is responsible for this. I don't think Victor accounted for the fact that Morgan would actually find Alicia. And I think Victor expresses that. He's like, are you okay, Alicia? And then she gets bit and he goes, just go away. Okay, I'll go away, Victor. It's like, okay, I'm going. All right. And then he comes back and he's like, hey, you tricked me. Whatever. I don't like that, even though I'm okay with that. You're Alicia, apparently, so.
I just want to say the way he delivered the line when he was standing over the senator and he was talking, he's like, who's this? And the way he said that was so good. It's like my favorite part of the episode.
Because he says it sort of like...
It's just a continuation of the sentence. And then it went over there and who's
this? Yeah, exactly. He just kind of stopped himself for a second.
I loved it.
Oh, man.
Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt your train of thought.
No, that's fine. It goes hand in hand with the absurdity. And I'm not saying it's stupid. I'm just saying that I attribute some of the things that happened in this episode as more of a deliberate action rather than simple coincidence. Because it's starting to not make sense to me the more, and I need you guys to bounce this off of to kind of make more sense out of this. I'm not committed to this theory, but at the same time, it just doesn't make sense otherwise. The timeline doesn't make sense, but now that I'm drilling down on it, no, Strand wanted a dirty bomb Morgan. I mean, right? Can we maybe agree now at this point? I can't believe I honestly wanted you guys to fight me on this, because I sound crazy, but at the same time, it's like, this doesn't make sense.
I don't know. I'm still not convinced that they were following Morgan. I feel like they came from the opposite direction. They came from like over a hill, and that's not the direction Morgan came from.
Again, a detail that you find out when you actually pay attention more to the episode from all the shock. 3 walkers blowing up in the last episode. Dwight says over the hill there's like 100 walkers. Mm-hmm. And so maybe this actually even further proves my point. What if Victor just said, let's turn the lighthouse thing off a little while and throw a couple of fireworks in Morgan's general direction? So those 3 walkers could have been peeled off from a greater portion of Victor's moat that he could just definitely get back again once he turns the light back on.
Yeah, that makes more sense. Like, so just then, sort of sending the herd off as a whole.
In that general direction.
I could agree more with that, yeah.
Thank God for this show. I'm just going to say that right now. Because I felt crazy thinking this. Like, literally, at the end of the portrait, I'm like, should I talk about this? It felt crazy pants. I'm like, I don't know. I don't be that guy. But now I'm like, no, fuck that. Because this episode makes it a little bit more clear, considering, he's really going after him. Yeah. I will say this much. I'm a little bit disappointed, but not, because Victor hasn't shown himself to be, by way of evidence, as a capable marksman. But I'm almost disappointed that he missed Morgan when he was shooting at him before he jumps off the cliff. Yeah. Not because I want Morgan to die. Let me make that clear. Obviously, it's me. But it's almost as he's right there. Just a clear shot.
How do you miss?
Morgan took a minute to bend his knees to jump off the cliff. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Right? And then he jumps in the air, and then he doesn't fall. He doesn't go floop. No, he jumps.
Yep.
So maybe Victor's next for the CRM. He'll be created by the CRM.
Or at least he's next in line for the reclamation team.
Yep. He's just who they've been looking for.
No, I'm glad I said. Disclaimer, we don't know Victor to be a proficient killer. I mean, he did some fancy shit in that first episode, I gotta admit, in terms of the sword. But in terms of being a marksman, and it's not a long gun, it's a pistol. Pistols aren't known for accuracy. He was kind of a distance away, and he was a moving target, sort of, even though he jumped in the air. Perfect time to shoot, right? Like, he's like, right, boom, done.
Can't zigzag in the air.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can't block in the air. We learned that from Street Fighter. Oh, wait, until the Street Fighter 3. Anyway, whatever. I guess you can. Of the people that Alicia tries to protect, tries to do this thing, this noble thing of finding Padre, all these people pinning their hopes on Alicia. It's kind of like the Dell Diamond all over again. All these people were depending on Madison to kind of bring back the old way of life, farming and stuff like that, or Madison's hammer building that framework for Charlie to sleep in that room and whatever, you know? And then what happened at the end, you know? Same thing. I mean, Alicia's personal people dwindled down all the way to, it started out at 31. They killed the two people who had, I'm getting to a bigger point. They killed the two people who came back who looked like the knights from Monty Python and the Holy Grail. I think you had said that, right, Sharon D? Or somebody
had said that about the picture. That was about the picture that Fear. It was in the trailer, and there was a shot of Sarah and I think Lucy, and then there was somebody in between them, and it looked like a knight from Monty Python. But Mo commented on it, and it's the rabbi.
Oh, yeah, that was the other thing. Okay. But then I noticed the two people that were on patrol of Alicia's, they also kind of looked like knights.
Neat.
That's who say neat. Right. So 31 turns into 29, and Mickey is the 29th, and she had run off. Now, that's the point I wanted to get to. I had joked in the reaction video that they couldn't pay Aisha Tyler, so that's why she's not in the episode. But in the episode itself, Dwight says out loud, he says, Mickey ran off when she found out that Alicia was following the senator to find out where Padre was. And this after trying to find Padre herself all this time before she finds out her husband died. So therefore, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mickey thinks Alicia is cuckoo bananas. And she said, fuck this, I'm gone. I'm out of here. That's not insignificant. That's like, you lost the whole character because your cuckoo bananas pants wants to find this Padre so much that it has to follow Walker. Very interesting. So,
and not just any character. I mean, it was Aisha Tyler.
Right.
Yeah.
So the question is begged, will we ever see her again? Because of this offense to her character's nature. Is it possible? Will it happen? It feels like they wanted to get rid of this character so badly, but they did it in such a way that was just kind of like, it's kind of like, again, I bring this up sometimes, but it's like kind of Kirk going to another planet and boning this other alien chick, and then we just don't talk about it anymore. That's just the way things go. That doesn't happen on these Walking Dead shows, though. Like, we don't get rid of a character until they're in the earth, more or less. You know, or walking around biting people.
Yeah.
So
I think Heath might disagree with you.
Keith is dead. I don't want to talk about it. I'm very offended. Portland. It's an inside joke. Is it? I don't know.
Portland.
Yeah, exactly, right? Isn't that funny that we have that now? I want to see Aisha Tyler again. I'm just not convinced that she'll show up. Like,
well, I mean, I feel like she could come back because they didn't kill her off. Maybe that's a good sign. They didn't take the steps of actually killing her character off. So there's always this back.
So like schedule permitting.
I mean, she has other stuff to do. Maybe she just doesn't have time to be a series regular.
I think that's what kills me the most is that like they made her a dark horse. They could have just said, "Oh, I gotta find my own way," like just like Freak of the Week kind of stuff. Like,
well, but they left it open so she could come back at any time. I joined you guys this time, so which is cool because I like Aisha Tyler. I want her to come back.
Maybe she'll find Padre
Alicia's
first.
dying. Okay, I'll come back.
Somebody killed the Senator Walker. All right, I'll come back.
All right, yeah, seems less dangerous. Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe she'll find Padre
I just
first.
thought that was. I just like that they. Yeah, well, wouldn't that be nice? I just like the fact that like they almost made it not a big deal. Like it would have been better if they would have not said anything. Now it's just bothering me that it's in the air that like and they're like not a big deal, but she thinks Alicia's crazy. Anyway, let's move on. What? We just lost the whole character.
Well, she knows from experience what it's like to be obsessed with trying to find Padre, and she doesn't want to go back down that road again.
Fair enough. Okay, that squares it a little bit better for me. Also, Alicia's crazy.
I'm not denying that, but
Like, I'm turning this over to you, Rach. Like, it must be weird to see this character go through all of this in this episode, though, too. Like, that's your girl, as you've said before. Like, how does this all make you feel about Alicia now that you've seen this whole episode, though? Because I can easily see somebody like you, let's say like you. I don't know about you, but we're going to find out in a second. Feeling the way you do about Alicia and then seeing this episode and being like, I can easily see somebody be like, what is happening? Are they ruining my girl? Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, there's always a fear of that. And when I saw the arm, I don't know, my first reaction was like, oh, that's so badass. And then I'm like, shit, like, she's going to have to lug this thing around the rest for as long as she's on the season, like the series for. I'm like, that's, is it going to get...
And then it makes you think of how long she's going to be on the series
right,
for,
and then I start worrying about that too, yeah. I mean, seeing how she is right now and the state of mind she's in just makes me feel really bad for her. I mean, clearly she's losing her shit. She's going crazy. Like, she hasn't slept, she hasn't eaten, like, she's following walkers around, like, she's not in her right mind. So it makes me feel bad for her. I do hope she gets her head back on straight and we get to see the real badass Alicia again, you know, in her right mind, not deliriously following walkers through the woods. Like, that's just, it's sad to see her like that.
Yeah, so you're not at the point where, well, what is this bullshit they're doing to Alicia's character?
Not yet.
So you're not there
not
yet.
yet.
No.
Not yet.
But I know that this is the worry.
Yeah, we're at like this point now where we could go this way and save the character, or they could keep going down this other path, and that wouldn't be good.
This is something we talked about sort of last year, around the time where we're talking about episode 100, the 5-part special. The question was raised whether could the show ever get rid of Alicia Clark, right? And now that we know Madison is coming back, I feel like maybe we have that answer now, possibly. And this, we're not talking about this now. We have a live stream scheduled for us to talk about that part. But like, it kind of brings up the question, even though you could be like, no, they'll figure out a way. Do you feel at this point that they may actually get rid of her? Like, because we know how relentless this virus is. Like, there is no cure. There's never going to be a cure. So what is the limits to this show's relentlessness when it comes to this virus? Is there a limit? And so it makes you wonder, do you feel maybe that she may be on her way out?
I mean, if she dies, I don't think it's going to be because of whatever's going on inside of her. I don't know what the hell's going on inside her. Did nobody tell her? Like, did she forget that we're all infected? Like, we all have this virus inside of us. So why are you panicking right now? I don't understand. And she's been going through this for, what did we figure out? Oh, like over 2 months now?
It's over. It's 2 months, 7, because it was 69 days when the Dories left.
Yeah, so for over 2 months now, she's been feeling this way. If she was going to die, wouldn't she have died already, don't you think? She's still fighting. She's still doing what she needs to do, but she hasn't eaten. She hasn't slept. I think those things would take more of a toll on her than, I think that's what is making her feel like shit, not whatever virus she thinks is swimming around.
Well, I take her word for it that, like, okay, if she's been feeling this way, whether she's eaten or not for this long, she kind of knows. I mean, but more to the point, it kind of reminds me of House. Have you guys watched House? Of course.
Early seasons.
Okay. But you understand the premise that he's this way because he's in constant pain from his leg injury. Yeah. So I remember the one day they actually relieved him of that pain, and he actually turned out to be an okay guy. So, but that's the thing. And I should have researched this a little bit more, like in the time that I took off to kind of be myself. But like, it does make me think of that. Like, what does it do to somebody to live like this for so long, to be this ill or in pain for so long, or fighting this fight against this, what could be the virus? Because we all know one thing. We don't know how it works necessarily, but we do know that once you get bit, even if you are infected, when you are bit by a walker, you will get a fever and die from whatever is in the saliva or whatever it is, or
if you don't take care of it soon enough. Yeah,
by lopping it off. Actually, I had this other funny thought, but I won't even get into it yet. Okay, fine. What if in World Beyond, or sometime after World Beyond, they figure out a way to not make it so you have to amputate your arm and be like, sorry Elton, sorry Alicia, too late. It was the dumbest thought, like, especially after seeing the bony arm. I'm like, she's crazy. Anyway, so, but being in pain for that long, yeah, what would that do to somebody's mind? Like, I mean, look at what it did. Look at what a simple fever did to Gabriel's eye, you know? So you know what you think about it? And funny enough, the callback to what makes you sick, what could make you sick, was what happened to Gabriel in season 8. You know, oh, the guts trick worked, but Gabriel got sick and almost died. So I kind of like the juxtaposition, but that kind of goes to the point. Like, okay, well, I guess it is possible to reverse, but what's the cost? Is it an eye? Is it what is it? What is it going to be? And she's been sick for so long, not like Gabriel. Gabriel got better, came out of it. And this within that 2-week time frame of all out war too. So this is 2 months. This is a lot longer. So what does either being in and out of fevers do to somebody for so long, right?
If she, could have, I don't know, stayed still and kept hydrating, maybe she would be better by now.
Maybe she just needs a brisk jog.
People who get malaria have fevers. I mean, they recur all the time. They manage to survive.
But at what?
Malaria recurs.
What cost? Yeah, but some people actually, to that point, by the way, some people who do have it, and those people who do have it longer and the fevers persist, they do have permanent cognitive disability, or to some extent. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's rare because we have them actually quinine and hydroxychloroquine, by the way. So masks on, everybody, masks on. And I don't know what's going to happen. I really don't. I feel like they could get rid of her in light of Madison's return.
Yeah, I'm worried about that too. I am worried about that. I could see them killing Alicia off, especially now that...
Hey, Madison fans, that's what you get.
Yeah, that was the other cost of what I wanted to talk about. We're not going to talk about it now. We'll extend that thought later.
I'm not mentally prepared
be careful
for
what
that.
You wish for. Yeah. And it would... So... This goes to the greater criticism of these shows is that, oh, they're not prepared to do, crazy things that they used to do in seasons 1, 2, and 3, blah, whatever. Okay, for example, they stopped short of taking Rick's arm too. And this is the reason. I mean, you're seeing it happen now. This is the reason why they didn't do it. And Kirkman's like, I'm so glad we didn't get rid of Rick's arm because that's all everybody would think about. Arm gone. Arm gone. And now we're doing the same thing to Alicia. And look, you can get away with it on The Walking Dead World Beyond. We're not seeing Elton anymore, well, at least as far as we can tell. We're not seeing Elton anymore, but we may see a lot of Alicia, or are we?
Well, I feel like they'll cover it up like they did at the beginning of the episode. They'll have her covered up with a cloak or long sleeve shirt. I don't think that's going to really color people's perception too much if they keep covered up and they don't keep referring to it.
Yeah, and they've all made it clear that. The showrunners make it clear they don't care what anybody thinks. So unless it's Madison, and then they do, I don't know. There's little things too, like the signs on the wall in the bunker. Mm-hmm. One of which is
sacrifice for the greater good.
Yeah, and there's another one in the senator's room.
I saw it tagged there too, but I don't think I couldn't read it.
The future is you.
Ah.
Same font too. So, which is also the same font that's on the Padre thing, which tells me, that's significant. So what does that mean? And again, these are all slogans from before, what people thought life could be like before. The future is you. And people said it to say it. They don't really mean it. The senator doesn't believe that, although he's a Democrat. So no, I'm kidding. But anyway.
They remind me of the signs in Kublek's apartment. The
propaganda posters.
British propaganda posters.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Ration food and all that stuff, and canned food, and send a salami to your boy in the army. that is not one of the posters in Kublek's room. This was England after all. They're classier. What is salami?
They're called bangers there.
Yeah.
Even better.
Send a banger to your boy in the hangar.
There you go. Send a banger to your boy in the Rangers.
Oh boy.
Jasmine's gonna correct me on this, I'm sure.
She was born after 9/11. She's not going to correct you on anything. But it does make you think, the first thing especially, sacrifice for the greater good, right? We've heard this on The Walking Dead World Beyond, the greater good, which it could be subliminally what Alicia's going through. She feels like she has to sacrifice herself to protect everybody else. Kill me if I have a fever, sure. But then other things like the future is you is fucking with her head. I have to find Padre. I have to be Morgan. Guys get in my head. I wonder where they're going with this though too. If this all out war is going to persist here. I mean, we saw they had their own lineup scene in season 6 with Ginny's lineup. There's echoes here that are referring to The Walking Dead, the events of The Walking Dead, and of course it's not going to turn out like that. But I don't know what war with your friends would look like. It doesn't surprise us on the one hand, right? Because it feels like as natural as gravity that this could happen. But at the same time, when you really think about it, right, I know I've said this already, but I just don't know how they could do this and make it, because you're asking Alicia and her people, the 28 that are left, 28 that are left, to fight against Strand's 200 strong so far people, which, okay, some capable rangers, sure, and a bunch of old people and yogis. Okay, so, and are they going to fight for Strand, right? We're talking about, one of the things that we said was that a lot of the people in Strand's tower are people that Strand, that would have to be dependent upon Strand, right? Like, these aren't capable, useful people. I've heard some people say, oh, Strand only lets in useful. Did you see how many useful people he's turned down? He wants people that depend on him, that suckle on his teat. So, I mean, it's not even a fair fight. They've got a couple of rangers at best, maybe a handful. But then you have all these culty people that would follow Alicia to the ends of the earth. It's not a fair fight. And they're hungry, so they're desperate. And so they're going to be sharper.
We had our own experience with this 150 years ago, didn't we? Brother against brother, friend against friend. Mm-hmm.
Civil War? Interesting. Mm-hmm. And for what, right? It's like The Shelter all over again, like the Twilight Zone episode. And yet, there's more than enough room for everybody. And yet, it's all for ambition or all for personal rivalry, let's say. We're simplifying it to an nth degree, but
I wonder what taking the tower from Strand looks like to Alicia. Like, does she want to go in there and just kill everybody and then move in her friends? Because that's a lot of innocent people. Or is it just going to be taking out Strand? And, well,
that's kind of what I mean. How desperate is Alicia to supplant Strand, right? Mm-hmm. Is she willing to kill all these people? How far is she willing to go?
I mean, I would think that most of the people in the tower, as long as they're fed and safe, they don't give a shit who's leading.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, interesting. But then, how hard are they going to fight for Strand? Like, I mean, that's the thing.
But it's Strand, so he'll spin it. In a way that this mean, horrible woman's coming to steal your home, and we have to defend our home, and this is everything that we've worked for, and now all of a sudden it'll be a group effort, and he'll convince them that they have to defend their home, and they're not fighting for him, they're fighting for the tower. The greater good. Yeah. And I could easily see a world in which, because look, there are old people there too, right? So he may pose the question, like, anybody who wants to keep this tower must fight for the tower or leave. Mm-hmm, sure.
Well,
do you think he would kick him out, though? Because, well, if he kicks him out, they have the potential of joining the other side. Don't you think he'd just kill him?
Or not. Like, I mean, I think the people that he's conned, the people that he's gotten to join in his tower, some of them it doesn't look like they're capable fighters. Like, the old people with the pretzels and the checkers.
Ejects them from the fight, do for me, or you get kicked out of the tower, and they don't have anywhere else to go, so who are they going to go to? The first person that offers them a place to stay. Which would also be a really good way for Strand to get a spy in there.
Yeah.
Like, hey, go tell them I kicked you out, and they'll let you in, because that's what Morgan would do.
They'll do.
Because that's what you get.
In.
I think more to the point is like what people like Sarah would do, Charlie, what would they do? I mean, even Charlie and Victor got along at some point together, like in spite of everything. Mm-hmm. So it just seems odd or bizarre to see these people who are trying to convoy together now fighting against one another, drawing lines based on what? And then where does that put Wendell too? I mean, John Dory Sr. fighting against like his son's best friend. It's just... And then June, right? I think June would have the most objection to all this too. It's hard for me to think about. I mean, of course, June is a terribly capable fighter. It's like, if she was to ask to defend the tower, how hard would she? And against Alicia, oh my God. I mean, we're back in season 4 all over again, except she's going after her. And then Madison comes in and stops the whole thing. Oh my God.
That's what you get.
Yeah, that's what you get. It is hard to wrap one's mind around, right? It is. I mean, look. I see what you're saying, Sharon D. I am a little excited too. But on the one hand, I'm like, it's kind of like, okay, do you know when people ask, like, I want Clear Morgan back? Do you? All right, that's kind of the same thing. Like, do you want Clear Morgan? Do you want mentally deranged, traumatized Morgan to show up again? No. no, I'm a good person.
Well, I mean,
I don't want
depends.
such things.
I mean, honestly, it depends on the context of how he got there.
True, but we
You
do
know?
know how this
I
happened.
mean,
We know how we got here, and now I'm like, oh, do I want to see brother against brother? That was the big takeaway of the Civil War, was the aftermath. You know, seeing people come home from the front lines battered and sometimes not coming back home. Wives not seeing their husbands ever return. Like tons of women back in the South. You know, like oh, our husbands never came back, and that's the thing. It's like when you see this and you see what it's for, why we're getting into all this. Like, oh, we're seeing people that we saw were friends in previous episodes.
they're fighting a war for the same reason most wars are fought. Two people have a fucking
Beef.
a beef and they can't settle it, so hey, let's all kill each other instead.
Can't squash the beef.
Two people's personal issues are gonna cause a bunch of shit for everybody else.
Right, and everybody else gets caught in that vacuum.
A lot of people are gonna die.
That gravitational pull. Oh man, it's exciting, but it's also heart rendering. That's why I can't seem to let this season go. It's like, oh my god, I've described this also in like this terms of, okay, when Star Trek introduced the Borg, we've painted ourselves into such a corner right now that now we have to paint ourselves out of the corner. And I'll say I'd like to see if they can pull this off, or how they intend to pull this off too. I ask this mostly for you, Sharon, because like there are times at which I'm reminded that you got into the show because I got into the show because John and June. This seems lovely, but now I almost have to ask you, like, is this what you signed up for?
Oh, I mean, look, I knew going into the Walking Dead universe that people got killed and stuff. I mean, I knew all the spoilers and stuff like that. So, I mean, to be honest, when I watched Laura, because that was the first episode I watched, I was like, this is a Walking Dead show? What the fuck? Like, this is nothing like I expected. So, you know, I mean, and to me, like, the big shock was the difference between Fear and The Walking Dead. When I watched Fear up through season 5, and then I binged The Walking Dead, and I went back and I was like, oh my god, it's so violent and gory, because Fear isn't really like that. You know?
Right. It's definitely like that now.
I'm enjoying it. Yeah, I mean, we lost, you know, hey, part of the fun of a show is you want to feel what's going on. You want to feel excited about it, you know?
Yeah.
So I would like it when they do shit to shake stuff up. I'm not going to say I like them killing John, but look at what it did. I mean, it just rejuvenated. Like, everybody was like, oh my god, you know? So as much as I hated that happened, it was exciting anyway, if that makes sense.
Right. No, it's kind of like what we were saying about, like, for lack of a better word, meaning coming out of that, like, something narratively blooming from that demise, let's say. Yeah. Like, all this possibility. I mean,
look at all the fun and all the theories and plots that we've come up just since then, you know?
Yeah,
So I mean, it's exciting to me. I hate seeing people I love get killed off, but then I remind myself it's not the real person. The real person is still here.
They're safe in an air-conditioned studio.
It's the character. It's the character. Gone.
Craft Services is feeding them every day.
Yeah.
Sometimes barbecue.
It's okay.
Yeah, that's true. And I mean, to that point, I mean, I really, really enjoyed, of the 2 episodes we got to see him in, Gus Halpert is like the MVP of both episodes, in my opinion. He really brought it. I mean, I really felt, really and this is the only thing I think I wanted to bring up, was that him telling Alicia, I can't go up there. That struck me so hard, and it made me, and this is the thing I wanted to talk about from in the beginning of this discussion, was I see a lot of people talking about weak people, right? And how, you know, oh, weak people are full, like Will, right? I mean, he was kind of like that person. He knew what he needed to be to allow Alicia to become who she needed to become to help everybody. So that was kind of cool. He kind of fell on his own sword, went outside and said, okay, you need to be who you need to be. Fine. So he exceeded our expectations in that respect. But in the meantime, when we get to see him for the first time, he's like, I can't bring myself to go outside, blah, blah, blah. And then I thought to myself, isn't that mostly us? Isn't that really mostly us? Us thinking we're like these badasses, we'll do anything to survive. Ugh, sweet potatoes, what's the difference, woman? Anyway, so old reference. When I saw him do that, it brought me back to the original question of like, okay, our protagonists versus Will, and what a common person would do versus our extra people. And like, you have to acknowledge that like the people that we follow, like Sarah, Wendell, and Victor, and Alicia, and Morgan, those people are extra. Those people are, I don't know, maybe they're sociopaths, whatever they are. But then when I look at people like Will, like that's us. He did what we would be doing. I don't want to go outside. I'm feel safe here. I just can't. He's crying. Snot's coming out of his nose. It's so good. And then it's literally said on the show. He says maybe I'm the thing that reminds you of what you were like before. And it just, I started clapping. I was like, that's what we said on The Walking Dead World Beyond. You need walls. You need weak, quote unquote, weak people. And at this stage in watching these shows for 11 years, maybe more, it dawns on me that, like, okay, we're judging a lot of these characters harshly, depending on who we're talking about. Like, we keep saying that, oh, you're this far in the apocalypse, you don't get, like, well, no, there's still people. And every now and again, they're reminded of them being people. Like human beings that have civilization built into their DNA and forgiveness. And so when you see characters show a little bit of quote unquote weakness, I feel like we have to kind of get to this point where we're like not judging people harshly, or like, it's like when we found out Carl got bit, right? Like, say what you want, like walkers are dangerous. That we have to remind ourselves walkers are dangerous. That's reality. And I know that, like, whatever we say about Alicia in the tunnel and not getting the weapon and building a wall instead, like Trump, and then and then the walker bit her anyway. But like, even
some of those are good people.
Alicia's good people, right? On both sides. The senator and Alicia.
On both sides.
Will was on the other side of another wall. There's walls everywhere, everybody. Come on. We need walls. What? Anyway, so I feel like sometimes I have to fall back and say, okay, I guess at any point when something goes off and a nuke goes off and a tunnel collapses on your head and you get scared and the walker's going to come and I feel irrational fear and I don't know what's going on, I'm disoriented. Will, are you here? Can you save me? At some point I have to kind of resign myself to going, okay, let's be a little less judgmental and remember that they're people too. Somewhere in there, in that tough, peanutty exterior, there's a person in there. I don't know. That's not much of a lesson. But that's the best you've got. So with that, everybody, thank you for listening to this episode. If you like what you heard, head over to ratethispodcast.com/squawking dead. I haven't done this in a while. Give us 5 stars and an eggplant, if that's what you feel like doing, if that's what you get. But if you'd like to write more, please do, and do so. After every episode, it really, really does help the podcast grow. As we've seen lately, we have these little 2001 wrap-ups they show at the end. The numbers bear out. It's really, really nice. And hey, if you really, really want to join this journey and be a part of the family, head over to ko-fi.com/squawkingdead and just follow us. Because when you do, you'll be in the know when we record an episode that you can join in on and comment in the real-time chat, lending your thoughts and insights as we continue. And at the very least, you can get the unedited, unabridged version of this episode, which is a bastardization of the finished product. But, it's us at our worst. So why wouldn't you want to see that? It's spicy. And if you feel inclined, you can tip us for 30 days of supportive back content, the ability to be here, the ability to stream these unedited episodes, and much, much more. Or you can join a membership tier for as little as $1 a month. It's not about the money. It's about you joining the family, you being a part of this thing that you love so much. We want you to be a part of it, but you just gotta let us know. You gotta give us a sign. And that sign is money. I'm kidding. But that is $1 a month. No, it just shows that you want to be a part of this. That's really all it is. I've even been toying with the idea lately of being like, well, why don't we let anybody who follows us join in the real-time chat? Sometimes I think that. I'm like, oh, well, I don't mind that as much. If they're willing to go that far, maybe. I don't know. I'm thinking about it. As far as the unedited episodes go, well, if you missed the discussion, well, that's your fault. Now the Walker tier can take over from there. I don't know. Something to think about. Anyway, I've been your host, David Cameo. Thank you for joining us. We've been joined by Cosmom09, Rachel Burt, and Sharon D, aka Blazy Gardner. Take care, everybody. We'll see you in a couple of months. It was April. What was it again now?
February.
Well, for Fear the Walking Dead, it was like
April 17th.
April 17th, 2022. Fear the Walking Dead returns.
Well, that's when it officially returns. AMC Plus is actually April 10th.
Right, a week earlier. If they're going to continue to do that, they say that?
As far as I know, they didn't say.
Oh, and one more thing. In the brouhaha about Madison's return, Fear the Walking Dead has guaranteed a season 8 return. So just so everybody knows. So we'll be seeing you for that as well. Just in case you were wondering if this podcast had legs. You'll see us next year. too. Okay. Yeah. These ugly faces. Yeah. So, and we'll be back shortly for episode 173 when we talk about the Walking Dead World Beyond series finale. So that's going to be interesting and fun. Get with tears.
I was going to say, I don't know about fun, but it'll be interesting.
Yeah, it'll definitely be interesting. Take care, everybody. We'll see you very soon, and take care of each other. We love you, and we'll be seeing you so soon for so many other things that we still have to get to. Join us for that live stream. Madison's Return.
Oh, yeah, that one too.
Oh, yeah, that one.
Exactly. It's gonna be great, guys. It's gonna be awesome. It's gonna be a what is that? A cage match in wrestling? Not us. No, it's the people who are gonna be coming into the chat. Be like, Madison's back. Fuck you guys. Like, oh shit. Bye, guys. We'll see you soon.
Bye.